Let's turn our attention now back to the U.S., where the Democratic National Convention will begin today. And global affairs analyst Boye Akinokun joins me from Texas in the U.S. He joins me virtually. Good to have you join us.
And good afternoon, Lagos.
So what do you make of the venue that Democrats have chosen for the convention? If you remember well, the 1968 convention also held there as well.
Yes, so there are many reasons and many significance attached to Chicago being the venue for today. To start with, Chicago has hosted most presidential conventions in history. And the 1968 was an inflection point in the U.S. when the sitting president, we can see some resemblance to 1968 because the president of the United States at the time also stepped down for his vice president to run for office. So there are so many things that we can, see as significant moments in hosting the Democratic Convention in Chicago. Another thing was the war in Vietnam was going on, and there was a lot of outrage and demonstration also going on against the war. So it's there's so many things that happened in 1968 that we can also see happening today. So there's some resemblance of the same thing.
And if I remember clearly, there was also, from history, there was also some sort of demonstration there by activists that sparked violence. And, Democrats are already talking about how the war between Israel and Hamas could also lead to some demonstration in that venue. But I also wanted to ask you about we understand that President Biden is scheduled to speak tonight. How do you see this moment playing out for him when you consider that he was pressured by his own party leaders to end his re-election bid? And how crucial is his speech?
I believe his speech was slated for today to be like to unite the party. 1968 didn't go well for the Democratic Party after the president stepped down, so I'm sure they are trying to avoid the same situation. And it's important that the sitting president, comes out to speak to delegates and assure them that he stepped down and he's supporting, throwing his weight behind his current vice president. So I'm sure all that was planned to make sure that he gives his voice early enough and it can rally as many people as possible to cast their votes for the vice president.
And what about the vice president herself? How critical is her speech? And just generally, the outline for the convention, when you consider that, look, the Republicans had a great convention. We saw those who seem to have been opponents of former President Trump lining up behind him to recommend him to the party and, just to vote say, look, vote for him. How critical is this convention for Democrats and then the speech of the vice president herself?
It's going to be a critical moment because the vice president has been riding on some wave of acceptance from the general populace since she replaced President Biden on the ticket, and she has to give a powerful speech. Everybody is expecting her to give a speech, and that speech will go a long way because, like you said, the Republican had a very good convention. It made the news. There were so many highlights. So the Democrats will, I'm sure, also they are planning to make sure that their convention beats what the Republican had, and Vice President Kamala Harris also has to come out to speak to the nation and to the undecided voters. So it's going to be a very important and interesting couple of days at the Democratic National Convention.
And some Democrats have credited her for energizing the party in a way that has not been seen since Obama in 2008. But Vice President Harris hasn't faced tough questions yet in an unscripted event. Can she sustain the momentum? And what is the biggest test ahead of her?
Well, it's something that is a long time in American politics. But if she can, the immediate test she's facing now is the convention. She has to give a powerful speech. She has to give a speech that resonates with Americans. She has to give a speech that will unite the party, unite the country. Then she has to also, after the convention, she also has to, at some point, face the press, answer questions, answer the tough questions that everybody is talking about, and we'll see how that plays out in the end.
Thank you so much for your time. Global Affairs Analyst Boye Akinokun.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's turn attention now to the war between Russia and